Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Breath of Fresh Career. This is season 3, episode 1. I am joined here today by Tania Doub. Tania is the founder of Work It. We're going to talk a lot about Work It. It's a personal sales concierge and gal pal providing you with tools and tips for your daily sales hustle. I got that off your site and love it. Tania's a mother of 2 sons, and she's also a strategic account executive at Salesforce.com. Welcome to the show, Tania.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Justin.
Absolutely. I'm psyched to be kind of back under the podcast helm energy. I like to use the term energy, but it's been a little bit of time off. Work has been so busy with the recruiting business that I haven't really had a ton of time to invest in not only getting guests, but content and then editing and doing all that stuff, which I'm a one-man show right now. But I was telling you before the show that I'm going to be teaming up and partnering up with another organization. The company's called Desk Rig, who is going to help me with all the production piece and parts of podcasting. So hopefully we'll be producing more in the future. Tell us about Work It, the Work It movement.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you again for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Work It is a passion project of mine. I think that the name was so interesting because when you're starting to think about creating a movement or creating something that's going to appeal to women, it has to be something that motivates you, something that inspires you. And for me, Work It started because the idea is that sales is really hard. The hustle of selling SaaS, it's really, really hard. And so Work It for me comes from this idea of use what you have to get what you want. Work it, because we all have that ability within us. We all do. We just have to figure out how to get the BS out of the way so that we can work what we know how to do. And that is where Work It came from.
That's awesome. So you just used the word passion. So tell us about this passion, about this mission, and kind of like on empowering women in tech sales. How'd this come? Like, when did you recognize that there was a need for this?
So I've been in technology sales, selling SaaS for the last 2 decades. I started in the early 2000s and I spent 10 years working at a really small email marketing company at the time. And I was in my early 20s. And I actually had been hired as a marketing coordinator on the sales team, had never considered a career in sales. And after a few years of doing that and helping the sellers and writing RFPs, et cetera, I actually got tapped on the shoulder by our VP of sales. And he asked me if I wanted to carry a bag. And I was like, what? What is that? What does that
What does carrying a bag mean?
What does carrying a bag mean?
I got a Louis. Will that count?
Right? Does that count? So anyway, he asked me that and I thought, okay, I mean, nobody else looked like me in sales at the time, right? So everybody was 20 years my senior. They were all male. And I remember looking over at marketing and client success. And I realized like, that's where everybody that looked like me was, but I was almost given this little secret pass to a club that I got to join where I felt really exclusive. And I had, people that were my senior who were teaching me and guiding me and being my mentor. And so it kind of started there. I had a really supportive environment. And then fast forward 10 years later, now I'm married, I have 2 kids, and it's time to jump ship and find the next company to work for. And I actually find myself at this like fast-paced growing startup out of San Diego. And it's a completely different selling environment, right? And so all of a sudden the hustle of figuring out how to work for a startup with investors and VCs and targets and sales teams that just started multiplying every quarter became a very real thing for me. And it got really, really hard. And so along that journey, I think what I realized is that if it got hard for me after 10, 15 years of being in the job, this must be really hard for a lot of other young women, because again, I didn't see a lot of women in sales. And every time I would meet a woman in sales, they would actually start to self-select out and go take another job because they were starting to think about family planning or having children and growing their personal life, and never considered sales. And that troubled me.
Wow. That's deep. That's awesome. And by the way, we're going to include a link to your LinkedIn profile. You got to take a look at Tania's kind of work DNA, because she's worked at some I think you're talking about eDialogue and how that was essentially, and when it was acquired by eBay. And you've really worked your way up through the ranks within technology sales. I would call it marketing technology sales primarily, which is awesome. You preach about using what we have, using what you have as a woman. You talk about selling differently than your male counterparts and how it's possible for women to see incredible results. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm not going to discount the fundamentals, the education, the sales process. All of that is so critical. You have to find a way to educate yourself and learn how to sell. So that is table stakes.
You're talking about like challenger sales methodology.
Yes. All of the methodologies, right? Yes. And I have, of course, certain ones that are my favorite. I've studied MedPick. I've studied the Challenger sale, Sandler, you name it, right? I actually went through Dale Carnegie myself 20 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been through it all. So you sort of need those fundamentals, but where I think
that's the OG, that's the original.
Oh, it's so OG.
I don't know if there's anything better. I really don't.
Thank you for saying that, because sometimes I'm like, man, that was like a long time ago.
Yeah, but like all that stuff still makes sense. He's the one that wrote like how to win friends and influence people.
Influence people. That's right.
Oh, have you read that book lately? I mean, like it's 100% applicable to today. And it kind of takes you back in time and you think to yourself, could I have been doing this for this long? Where would I be? I mean, it's just unbelievable. It really is. You're going to laugh because I think we're both workout nuts, but sometimes I listen to it like book, audiobook.
Love it.
I actually have the CDs. That's how long I've had it. So like I put it on and like listen to it when I'm working out. It might take me a week to re-listen to the whole thing, but it's a good change from like, Metallica or Eminem. No,
I mean, I haven't really ever worked out to sales stuff, but I feel like, why the heck not? I listen to motivational stuff all the time when I work out. So
well, that's definitely motivational.
That's what I'm going to try it.
My other thing is like, I've got roughly an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, right, of time where I'm kind of alone and doing my thing. When else am I going to have that time to work out and essentially read? But I'm not reading, I'm listening. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, I was kidding, but you're so right, because it's like this double duty thing. We always have to find a way to do two things at once. And I know we all say like, oh, slow down, but real life doesn't work that way. So I admire that you do that. I think that's fantastic. And I want to get back to like the secret sauce for women.
Yeah, sorry.
But I will tell you, no, but here's the thing with Dale Carnegie that's so interesting is
he brings up women. It's so funny because that one book that we're talking about, how to win friends and influence people, it's so dated, the content, but he talks about like, an administrative assistant woman and how she, attended the course. And by the way, like an administrative assistant could be a man, but like he kind of, you're listening to it and you're like, well, that's not really like in today's world, but both men and women, whoever you are, however you identify, could definitely benefit from reading that book for sure. Sorry.
I actually think it was before his time in some ways, right? So I joke like we were in a dingy hotel conference room at the time. I remember I would go once a sessions, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that we did this one thing one week where we actually were challenged to get up, walk to the back of the classroom, and then run down this aisle of chairs yelling, I am amazing. And I remember I did it once and the instructor said, go back to the back of the room. It wasn't loud enough. And I went back and I came back and said, I'm amazing. She said, go back, go back, go back. And I think it took me 7 times. And I finally ran down this aisle of complete strangers in the middle of this class, yelling at the top of my lungs,
Wow.
I am amazing. And it was so powerful because it gave me the voice and the confidence. And I think that I only figured this out when I actually started writing the book. It was when you actually start to combine your sales fundamentals with your own inner voice and your own inner strength, that's where the magic happens.
That one experience probably helped to shape who you are today.
100%.
Like I think whenever you took that course, however many years ago you took that course, like, I think if I was talking to you before you took that course, obviously you would be a different woman than you are today. But like that one experience and the fact that you're bringing this up how many years ago and how kind of like motivational it was for you, I'm sure has had a lot to do with who you are today and what you do and what you bring to the table, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's big. And I think that's why, so getting back to your question of, what's the secret sauce for what makes women different as sellers? I think that it comes down to, I outline a lot of these pillars in the book, and it's 6 very specific pillars of what I've built my sales career on, and what I believe is the true testament to how women can be successful in the role. Of course, men too. I mean, I'm not saying women are more successful, but we innately have skills to make us very, very successful at sales. And the numbers prove that in a lot of cases. We actually have a very high listening percentage, and we close deals at a much higher rate than men do. It's just the data. Sorry, boys, but it's just the data.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah. But it comes down to things that innately women possess, right? So things like confidence, things like your ability to take a risk, things like your ability to embrace a growth mindset, things like knowing when to pivot, knowing that it's your intuition that speaks to you at different times and tells you that this is not right for me, or this is very right for me. These are all things that we have as women. So when I think about work it, I'm saying you have all of these skills and you have all of this intuition. Marry that up with the magic of learning what it's like to be in sales and understanding that it is a roller coaster, and it will be good some days and it will frankly not be so good other days, but it's worth the ride, right? And at the end of it, you will actually not only excel in this career, but you will also create quite a living for yourself because it's financially very, very rewarding. And so, the mission and the vision of all of this is to kind of put that message out there to say, this is all very, very possible to do. I've done it. It's not been easy, but it's doable.
100%. 100%. We spoke a little bit about, your career and kind of how it led you to work it. Take us back before Dale Carnegie, before sales. How'd you get your start in enterprise software?
So, gosh, where do you even begin? I mean, I started my career thinking I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So,
Tell us about that. Like, what do you mean?
So I am a 2nd generation Armenian American. And the beauty of that is that the one thing that I know has helped me in my sales career is this work ethic that is just ingrained in my soul. My dad is a 3rd generation cobbler. He's retired now, but every part of
what's a cobbler?
Yeah, shoe repair.
Sick.
Yeah. It's like OG. I mean, you don't really find a cobbler anymore, right?
Oh, there's one actually down the street, and he must smoke about 8 packs of cigarette a day. In there, you walk in and you're like, Jesus, what the fuck is going on?
Right?
I like take an old shoe and like wedge the door open. I'm like, I got these, I got these Gucci's. They got, can you put soles? If I make it out of here, I'll pick them up. So
that's a typical cobbler shop. That's actually where I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, and so I went to school. I went for a marketing degree and a business degree. And then I got my MBA in entrepreneurship, thinking, at
Wow.
some point it would lead me to this direction of starting my own business. But I didn't know. I mean, you don't know. I remember having these conversations, living at home with my parents, thinking about like, where do you go to college? And, finally settling on a school. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. And I remember my mom and dad, I overheard a conversation like, I don't even know if we can actually afford this. I don't even know how we're going to pay for it. And so this guilt of, how do you actually take this education that you are now getting and then turn it into something that's going to be financially rewarding and have an ROI for your parents and your family, right?
It's so hard today.
It was hard. Yeah.
It's hard today. I mean, it's even harder because it's so expensive. Everything's so expensive.
So expensive.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I started. And so I would sort of move from company to company thinking, okay, this is how much money I should be making working in marketing. This is what I should be doing. By this age, I should be making this much money. I should be working here. And so I just sort of did a few things here and there while I figured out what that all started to look like for me. So I worked in a very highly coveted, at the time, everybody worked in advertising, it felt like. And so I had a little stint at Digitas where I was like, okay, I'm doing all the right things because I'm working at this massive advertising agency. I had no idea what SaaS was, what software was. I worked with a recruiter, interestingly enough, who at some point in my job search said, oh, there's a company here in Lexington, Massachusetts, and it's software as a service, and they're looking for a marketing coordinator. And I thought, okay, that sounds interesting,
Wow.
right? And so that's why I think this recruiter relationship in a lot of ways is so important, right? Because like you're the one who's guiding young people trying to figure out where do they want to land. And then as they become more experienced in the role, you're helping guide them to figure out where do they want to be and how do I best represent the people that I work with. So it was luck. It was all luck. But thankfully, I ended up in SaaS.
That's great. Now, you and I haven't had recruiter candidate relationship yet. Maybe we will at some point down the road, but we're not going to even talk about that. We're not going to talk about Woodbridge and that kind of whole experience, because we do go about things a lot. I mean, if you look at some of the accolades on LinkedIn or comments that people make, we go about things a lot differently than about 99% of other recruiting firms out there. So I look forward to the opportunity to, kind of share that with you down the road. But let's talk really quickly about the most important parts of the relationship an account executive has with their recruiter, and what you can share. I've got some thoughts and some ideas about that, but I'll lead it off. So many account executives, first of all, when a recruiter calls you, it's not an interview. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to say. So many AEs are like, they think it's an interview. And so often this is the forum, right? It's a video, it's a Zoom call. So I guess the first thing I'm going to say is you got to take the gloves off 100%. You take them off, you take off the suit, top, and you got to be yourself. The second thing is you can't hold back with your recruiter. Your recruiter is your Jerry Maguire, 100%. And we have to know everything about you, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how important that is and the relationship is and your experiences of working with other recruiters and kind of what you think is important so that you can share some of your ideas, your thoughts with not only our listeners, but your work at community, I should say. So tell us a little bit.
Well, so I love the points that you make. I would also add to that synergy. And that's how I know you and I will be a perfect match if and when we do go down this path together, because you need the synergy. You need to just get along with the person, because you're exactly right. Like that person is your representation.
Tania, I can tell in the first 5 seconds on a call. It's crazy. It's like a sixth sense, right? Immediately, boom. And I'm going to tell you 99% of the time, myself, client companies have great relationships, but if we don't, that's okay. Go find somebody else that you're going to have a relationship with. So like, you know what I mean? So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's literally that it's that cut and dry. It's that black and white.
I love that. It just means you're so good at what you do. I mean, that's what it comes down to, because if you can identify it that quickly, and that was really, I think, the magic of how we met, right? Is just immediately knowing that you could connect with this person. Because that, I think, is the most important thing. And, you know, to build on your point of this person represents you, I will say, like, I think you have to kind of be in it for the long haul when you're a recruiter and when you're an AE, right? Like every time I go to look for a new opportunity, yes, there's people hitting my inbox on the regular, but there's like maybe 4 or 5 recruiters in my Rolodex that have kind of tracked with me over the last 20 years. And I'll go back to those folks, right? I mean, I'll tell you, this morning I got a message in my inbox from a recruiter for a job, and I get it all the time. But in this case, it actually made me chuckle because, I mean, listen, it was a respectable salary, and I'm not knocking it in any way, right?
You're including salary information.
But it was salary information, which is super confidential and like very early to sort of like put stuff like that out there. But it was also like the title was like a junior account executive role. So if you were actually looking at my LinkedIn profile and you knew some things about me, you wouldn't have put that message out there, right? Because it's not my industry. It's not my type of job.
You know what I call that? I call it, and you know this from your sales experience, I call it my 3x3. You take 3 minutes to find 3 points of reference, which means you actually give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Those 3 points of reference could be 3 mutual connections. Those 3 points of reference could be jobs you've worked for, companies you've worked for, titles you've held. 3 minutes, 3 points of reference before you reach out. I also, this is the secret. Okay. This is the secret. And
this is it. You're going to tell us.
The good news is there aren't very many recruiters who are listening to this, but the secret is, and I'm going to use another percentage, 100% of recruiters. Okay. That's not true. There's probably a couple that I know that don't do this, but 100% of recruiters call candidates or reach out to candidates with a specific opportunity. Meanwhile, I have no, okay, I'm going to cuss. I have no fucking idea what you're looking for next in your career. I have no idea what you're looking for next. So why am I going to reach out to you with a specific opportunity before I take the time to listen to what you want to do next in your career? This way I can match what that is with 1, 2, 3, or none of the 100 plus opportunities we're currently working on. That's where recruiting gets tactical and strategic. Now, here's the deal. Right then and there, if you're not willing to invest 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour, generally turns into an hour, to talk with somebody like myself about who you are, what you do, what you're looking for next in your career, right? Waving that magic wand about what's next for you. If you're not willing to take the time to discuss that, that's cool. I'll go find somebody that is. Yeah. I'll go find somebody that is. So that's some advice for your listeners, for your work at Peeps, to take the time to talk about what you're looking for next in your career, because guess what, Tania? I might not have that right now. And I think we actually had this conversation. I might not have that opportunity right now in hand, but when it comes across my desk, guess who I'm calling? Calling you.
Absolutely.
And guess what? You're taking my call.
And you have a story, and you can do a perfect
100%, match. 100%. Yeah. That's where recruiting gets magical. So I've got some recruiters that work for me that listen, they're successful. They've got their own way of recruiting, and I don't want to disrupt that. But they kind of give me the Heisman to what these candidates want to do next in their career. You need to ask that question. It's just like when you're working with a client company. It's the same thing I ask. Wave your magic wand. What are you looking for in this candidate? I don't want to hear they have to have 3 to 5 years of experience. So you're telling me if I bring you a kick-ass all-star that's got 2 years, you're not going to talk to them? What if I bring you with somebody with 8 years experience? You're not going to, it's such bullshit. I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. We need a self-starter. No shit. No shit. You need a self-starter and a salesperson. You know, what's one of the other things that just drives me batty? And that's why largely I don't work with human resource people primarily. I work with freaking CEOs that they know what's coming next. Okay. They know where they're having problems. They know what they got to do to fix it. I work with VPs of sales. He or she knows who's not hitting their number and why, what it's going to take to make them hit their number. One of the questions I love asking these client companies is, how many people on your team were at goal last year?
Great question.
And then, okay. How many members on your team are projected to hit goal this year? So how many people on your team have been there for more than 5 years, have been there more than 3 years, right? Because I look, and your LinkedIn profile is awesome, but I look on LinkedIn all the time and you got 1.2 years. Tania, can you be a successful account executive in a year in a specific territory? It's hard. And why would you be leaving if you're successful?
Yeah.
It's after job, after job, after job. All right. We went off on a tangent, but I love that. What makes a good recruiter in your mind?
Well, it's the partnership. And I'll tell you something, I actually think that being able to suss out what an environment looks like for a candidate is so critical.
You're talking about like within the company?
Within the company.
Yeah.
So you know the company. I don't know the company, especially now, Justin, right? Like going to a company headquarters to do a final interview was so commonplace pre-pandemic. Now it's literally the difference between like, is it Zoom for team A or Google Hangouts for team B? I have no idea and no visibility what company I'm working for. Guess who can help me with that? You, and only you, because you know these people, you know the CEO, you know the head of sales, you know if they hit their number, you know, right? And so for me, it's like, help me figure that shit out, you know? And I have this, I called it like choose your own adventure, but in the book, there's a list of 100 questions that you work through and ask yourself when you're looking for the next sales opportunity to help suss out what type of environment is right for you. Because guess what? For women, it's interesting because if you are a new mom, a type of high growth, high velocity environment might not be perfect for you at that time. If you are just getting started, another kind of company might not be perfect for you. And so what's important to me is just making sure you end up in the right job so that you don't give up on sales.
With the right people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you are the gatekeeper. So this relationship to me is like, I love it.
I love that.
Anybody that can't see this, I'm making a heart.
Yeah. Well, watch it on YouTube. They'll be able to. No, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of what I do is match personalities.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got some CEOs who, by the way, I love them. I love people who are direct. I love sales-minded CEOs, but sometimes that's a very aggressive personality, right? Other times I get, you know, engineering-minded CEOs, right? That are not aggressive. They don't really even they don't wake up thinking about how the heck am I going to sell this? They wake up, you know, thinking about how can we make this product better? You know what I mean? Like that, it's a different mindset. So you have to be able to match candidates with client companies with candidates all day long. That's the deal. That's the deal. Tell us, I hope you don't mind if we go down this path, but tell us about your role as a strategic account executive at Salesforce. What's your day in life? What's your day in the life of being an AE?
Yeah. So Salesforce,
like from the point you get up, I want to know how you get out of bed, fired up to do what you do. What do you do to get yourself ready?
Okay. So 3 very, very basic things for me. And it's in my daily planner that I use every day.
How much water have you consumed today?
A lot.
Tell me, I want to know how much you drank already.
I've had 48 ounces already. I've had 2 cups of coffee. I have 3 water bottles on my desk right now. But
I
do
just took a
3
sip.
things.
This,
did?
this right here will be, when I consume this, will be 1
Yeah.
gallon today.
Perfect. Wow.
And I've had probably two of these.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry.
Perfect. No, I love it. So,
Yeah.
so this is why we're so like-minded. But I do 3 things every day. Wake up, I, drink water, move my body, and be awesome. I do those 3 things.
I love the
every day.
last one. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
If I can check the boxes on those 3 things, I'm ready to start my day. I'm ready to start my day as strategic account executive at Salesforce. I'm ready to start my day as CEO and founder of Workit. I'm ready to be a good mom. I'm ready to be a good partner. I'm ready to do all the things. I'm ready to not get angry when I see like the mess and the piles of laundry. And I'm ready to do all the things when I do those 3 things.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. That's really good. So you get up, you drink, you move, and you be awesome.
You'd be awesome. Yeah. And you don't always feel that way, Justin, right? Like some days you wake up and
like Tuesday morning this week.
Yeah, it was hard.
It was really hard.
It's a little kitschy, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm awesome. But your negative self-talk starts to creep in a lot. It creeps in a lot. And so when I say be awesome, I'm not joking to say I am awesome, but I'm almost saying, maybe it goes back to my Dale Carnegie, I am amazing. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if I let a negative feeling come through my mind, I'm going to pause, I'm going to address it, and then I'm going to figure out an action plan to get myself out of it or acknowledge it. And then I'm going to be awesome and I'm going to move on.
100%.
The choice.
By the way, that holds true for women, for men, for kids, for athletes, for unicorns. 100%. What? So now you're an A. You've done all these things. You're kicking ass. You're taking names. Kids are off to school? Is that the age group?
Well, so my kids are 10 and 12. So
okay.
Every day we have a routine to get to school.
Yep. And then you get in, you're working out of your home office. You checking emails. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I actually love making lunch boxes. I do that every morning. So I get out of bed, I do the mom thing.
They're eating your food, which is good.
They're eating my food. I love it. They don't really have an option any other way, really, because we don't have lunch at school, but it's okay. I actually don't mind. And in fact, my kids are obsessed with stuffed animal hedgehogs. And my 10-year-old has designed this like adorable hedgehog holding balloons. It's really cute. And my next product at Workit is going to be this doodle drawing of the hedgehog on a lunchbox, because I'm obsessed with making their lunch. So stay tuned. In a few months, that's going to be launching for back to school. But so what I do is I make their lunch boxes, we get them off to school, and then I immediately drive to the gym right away. So I'll go to the gym, I'll get my workout in, and then I'll come home, get dressed, and just come downstairs and just grind in my office all day until, almost 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
And I don't really move. I mean, I might go upstairs, grab something to eat, come back, but I'm just here all day.
You have a standing desk or a seating desk or both?
Yeah, it's standing.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
Yeah, it was a game changer. I like it.
Yeah, I'm sitting right now, but that's because I was standing before this.
I like the standing desk. I made that investment, and it's good to have options, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, days are busy, right? Like there's a lot going on. I do better when I'm busy. But then I quit work at 6 and I walk up 12 steps. And the minute I open the door to walk into the shit show that is my life, it's Mom, what's for dinner? So, you immediately transition into making dinner, doing
open
the
fridge, and you're like, I think we're going to do, I know.
Yeah.
I have to hook you up with Cindy, my wife, who I actually interviewed on A Breath of Fresh Career last season. She started like you. She's a professional. She's actually a dental hygienist in healthcare. And she started Maven of Moderation. She's a health coach.
Ooh,
And, you guys are talking about a lot of the same things, 100%.
love it.
Yeah.
It applies. That's
It totally
great.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I should introduce you guys for the kind of work it, maybe the moderation kind of connection partnership thing. Yeah. So, all right. So I want to ask you a pretty deep question about your work experience. What's one thing you wish you had known before you began your career?
Yeah, I think, gosh, that's a tough one. Because I think that we spend a lot of time doubting ourselves, right? A lot of time. I would almost say, of all the things, I wish that I just knew that it was going to be okay, and that I would always have, I would have always had the confidence that I need to just do the thing. I think we spend too much time doubting what we say, how it's going to sound, how it's going to land, what people think. Will they think I'm smart? Will they think I'm enough? Will it matter? Does it contribute? Does that make me sound right? Does that make me sound right? Like, we spend too much time thinking about these things.
Maybe I should start thinking about these things more
Well,
because I don't, oh God.
so that's interesting too, because I don't know, maybe women do. Women do. We spend a lot of time just doubting.
I'm of the mindset that if I have a thought, if I have an email to write, if I have a call to make, if I don't make it right then and there, if I have an idea, if I don't act on it right then and there, it doesn't get done. It doesn't get done. So like, I just act on it. I just do it. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Many times it does. Sometimes my wife is like, geez, like maybe you should have ended that text with an emoji. I don't know.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I guess she's right. She's right. But you're probably onto something with regards to women thinking that, because like right then and there, but my wife says, maybe you should have thought about ending that text with an emoji. She would probably think about things a little bit differently than I do.
Yeah. Well, but Justin, that again, like, I think that's the magic, right? Like, the magic happens when you just get out of your own head. And the reason why I think that women are posting these numbers that are substantially higher than men when it comes to close rates and listen rates, et cetera, is because if we can get out of our head to just do the thing without overthinking it, we also have the emotional side of it to be able to support what we're doing and do it in a healthy way. And then we're unstoppable, and I'm going to give you one example.
Please.
I remember one time I was having a heck of a time building pipeline. I mean, just a heck of a time. And I felt like I was on my sales manager's watch list, and I was on his manager's watch list. It just wasn't good. But I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know what to do. And I actually did exactly what you just said, which is just act on it. And I had this moment of epiphany where I thought, something, everything that I've been doing is not working. And I wrote it all down on a piece of paper, all the things I was doing, all the excuses I was giving myself, all the things that were just limiting beliefs on why I wasn't building pipeline. And they were things like, the product sucks, or my manager just doesn't get it, or, this stuff is really hard, or I tried prospecting and it didn't work, and my email didn't land, and, I couldn't go to the event, and right, like, it was all the things. And then I decided to make the list that was the no F's given list, which is, I'm just going to do the thing. Like, what am I not doing that I need to be doing? And it was, you know what? I haven't tried the CEO of this company. I haven't picked up the phone and actually called the CEO. I haven't Googled the CEO to see if they've been on a podcast, or if they've been on an interview, or if they did a thing or said a thing. And then I haven't spent 3 hours researching that thing and writing the perfect email or coming up with the perfect message to call that CEO. And I did that. And I did that for a handful of target accounts. And within 90 days, I had $1.2 million in pipeline.
Boom.
Because I just did the thing.
Just did it.
Just do it.
You worked it.
You work it because
On
you have
another
it.
episode, somebody said, just do it. And I was like, there's a sneaker company
Right.
that has that as a tagline.
There's no sneaker company that says work it.
Yeah, I know. Well,
That's why we say work it.
Is like, I mean, there's so much power behind that. What advice would you give someone, man or woman, wanting to pursue a career in sales?
Oh, do it. That's when I say do it. I mean, a career in sales, I feel like saved me. It gave me a voice. It gave me everything that I have always wanted, but never knew in my life. And then on top of that, it gave me financial freedom, right? The thing about sales is that it's very, very intimidating. But what I am so impressed with is in the last few years, there are so many resources. There is so much love for sellers and for SaaS and for salespeople, particularly women in sales too. So take advantage. I would say partner with recruiters that understand the space and learn a little bit about what a career in SaaS could look like. I encourage people to go on LinkedIn and find the groups. There are so many resources out there. I'm a resource. I mean, part of why I wrote Work It Girl is this idea of I want people to understand what the runway is in sales so that you can decide if this is a career you want for yourself. So, the statistic is that 60% of people end up in a selling role coming out of college, but they never studied sales. So what I want people to know about sales is I want you to know what you're getting into. I want you to be excited to pursue sales. And then you can make the decision for yourself. It's not right for you, or it's not something you want. That's okay too. I
would say that is probably a low percentage. I would say it's 75%. It's great. I had a professor, he's now passed away. It was George Hamilton, great guy. He looked at the class and he's like, 8 out of 10 of you people sitting in this room are going to be in sales within 10 years. And he was right. He is right. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's out there. I mean, I did so many interviews for this book and there was a lot of women that I just accidentally.
Yeah, there's no degree in sales.
There's no degree in sales.
How about that?
Yes. But did you know that an account executive, you probably know this, you're a recruiter, the account executive role is the #1 role being recruited today.
100%.
It surpasses programmers. It surpasses
engineers. Yeah. The real reason why is, these organizations only have one CRO. They only have one essential, SVP of sales. They might have 3 regional VPs of sales, and they have each one of those could have as many as 30 sellers, account executives. So now you got one organization with 90 sellers, versus, and it's that whole pyramid, so there are so few of these other roles, but so many of the AEs, the AE.
Yeah. So the jobs are plentiful for sure. Who knows what the future holds, but for now, I mean, I've been really, you feel blessed, right? Like you're in an industry that can sustain itself because you are in high demand. If you're in sales, you're in high demand. If you're a woman in sales, you're in even higher demand. So, I would say, why not?
I love that. I love it. One of the questions I love to ask guests that are on a Breath of Fresh Career is, I'd like to know 3 people who have been most influential to you in your life, in your career. Who would those 3 people be?
Gosh. So, I'm just going to go really close circle because there's a lot of, thought leaders and influencers and things like that. But I'm going to say, the first person is the very first person who was my VP of sales that tapped me on the shoulder and introduced me to sales.
Wow.
His name was John Polcari. He was an executive with American Express for years and years, and then ended up managing this sales team. And he is married to a powerhouse woman who's who's a doctor, and he just always valued and knew what it was like to have a woman be successful. And he sort of guided me through those early years. And I'm so grateful to him because I ended up working for him for 10 years.
Wow.
And he has become just such a solid foundation for me over the last 20 years, because he's always been, can't tell you, countless number of references and, all kinds of things, but he sort of understood the trajectory of my career and could be that person for me to sort of show me the way. So absolutely, that sales manager, that sales experience was huge for me. I would say the second person is probably my husband, to be honest with you, because he also has a career in SaaS. He's actually on the engineering side. So he's kind of the technical counterpart. And when I didn't know what a career in sales could look like for me, he was always this kind of quiet, steady voice that was like, just do it. Just do it. You'll be great. Just do it. Just do it.
He's on the technical side. Can he suss out, to use your term, crappy technology opportunities versus good?
He's pretty good. I mean, he has a high technical aptitude, so he's very helpful in that sense. But there's some technologies you just don't know. Sometimes if it's like an early stage startup, it's just
every company.
right?
This is one thing that everybody needs. They all have their own warts. Every company does. I mean, not poking fun at Salesforce. It's got warts for sure. Every company does. Oracle, Amazon. I have not found in the almost 20 years of recruiting experience in enterprise software a company that's absolutely perfect. I haven't. Could be some people, it could be product, it could be customer base, it could be implementation process, it could be all the above.
Yeah,
they pay their commission. There's going to be a wart somewhere that you need to be okay with. Right.
Yeah. And something that's part of the growth mindset. I mean, listen, like I feel like I got to a point where 15, 16, 18 years into selling, and now you're like, okay, now I'm confident, I got this. And so I would walk into these small startups and be like, I got this. And they would say, well, no, you don't, because you don't understand, blah, 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 blah. And it could just be because those things are broken, to your point. They're just not operating the way that they should. Yeah. And as a seller, you can be frustrated with that. Or you can say, this is where I kick into growth mindset. And I realize that even though I have a steady process, they don't. So I need to like level down, level up, level sideways to just make it work. Right. So that's really important too. You're just not going to be in a perfect marriage all the time. There's no way.
So that's two people.
Yeah.
First people, husband. Come on, give me a third. Mom, dad.
You know what? My grandmother,
I miss
and you know why? So she's passed now. She passed a couple of years ago. But so she was such a old fashioned, right? Like my whole family, we're an Armenian, old fashioned family. And so I was supposed to be a, super educated, right? Because we worked hard to get me to college, but like a stay-at-home mom. And there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, like all the power to stay-at-home moms. But that was sort of what I was expected to do. So I had all this like, great runway in my career. But then when I started having kids, everybody was like, when are you going to stop working so you can stay home and raise your babies? And
you're like, I'm not.
I was like, I don't know if we can afford that right now. Like, I don't know how you do that. So there's like my husband saying like, we just do it till it doesn't work anymore. And then there's my grandmother who, I would always sort of watch her advice or guidance, or
don't worry about it. We make the bread. We make the bread. Don't worry. We don't need to buy the bread. We make it.
Yes. And I guess I was always waiting for her to either, kind of not be disappointed, but just to sort of say like, maybe you should stay home or whatever. But then when I would get all that from everybody else in my family, she was just sort of quietly sit and nod and just sort of make me feel like she was approving that I just kept going.
That's huge.
So I kept going.
That's great. I miss my both grandparents, but on both grandmothers on each side, but really miss my mother's mother. She and I were very close. She was close to all the grandkids for sure. My grandmother liked, which is awesome. What What advice can you give our listeners? Life, work, entrepreneurship, etc.
Honestly, I think to me, like the biggest thing that people have said to me about my personality, which if you ask my husband, he'd probably say, well, you're not that, but I don't know, is the positivity. Like because sometimes he's like, you're actually, I'm like, I know, I don't know. But the positivity, I think, is like,
You mean viewing things with positive intent?
yes, be positive. If you're positive,
Freaking
I
hard.
don't know. I mean, I posted something yesterday on Instagram and it was like a challenge I gave people. And I said, when you see somebody in your day today, just hold their gaze 5 seconds longer than they do. Just look at them and acknowledge them and just smile a little bit bigger and just see what happens.
Wow.
I kid you not, like it's magical when I do that. And sometimes I feel goofy because I walk around like just smiling at everybody and everything, but you attract positive energy. You just do, And I think it's only when you start to do that, you start to see the good. You see the good.
Smiling's healthy, man.
I
Smiling.
mean, that's how we met, right? Like I
Yeah.
was working in my office at 7 p.m. and I was tired and my kids were upstairs and they, mom, come watch this movie with us. And I just had one thing to finish up. And to be honest, I didn't know, who the number was. I remember the first time you called me and I picked up and, it was like, take it with positivity. Like I didn't really know where it was going to lead and look at us now.
You're going to laugh out loud. But when I first got into recruiting, I started to build a little team around me. And I had this one guy, and he was a freaking rain cloud on his calls. It was like robotic. This is so-and-so with whatever firm, blah, blah, blah. Everything was scripted. And I remember like the second, third day on the job, I was like, this is not going to work. This guy is going to freaking fail miserably. So I went to CVS and I bought a mirror and I put it, leaned it up against his monitor. And I said, when you're leaving a voicemail, I want you looking at yourself and I want you smiling when you're making a call and when you're taking a call. I want you smiling. And it changed. The guy's still recruiting today. He's not a third-party recruiter like myself. He works inside an organization. Still a little bit of a rain cloud once in a while, but I think he learned that, not knowing that that's why we were doing it, but like he needed to break down a little bit. He was like too regimented. And I agree. You gotta be happy. You got to view things with positive intent. You got to start your day off that way. You got to start a call off that way. You got to start off a video that way. You got to start off a handshake that way. By the way, handshakes are back. If people don't think they are, forget the elbow, forget the knuckles, start handshaking again.
I mean, hugs are back.
Oh, I'm all about hugging. Kidding me? I'm all about hugging. I know there are going to be probably a list of things that you can answer this question with, but if you were in my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Gosh. Well, I'm a salesperson, right? So I guess I would say like my call to action. Okay. I would say, if you're interested in the Work It mission and you want to learn more and you want to know more about what I'm doing, you're always welcome to check out my website, taniadoub.com, where I have all the things sassy selling. So
I'll put that in the comment section.
Awesome.
So that people can find it there. That's going to lead us to the next question I have. But before we go there, tell us really quickly about the book that you've written that's coming out in.
Yeah, it will be, it's in final revision. So it will be on Amazon in about 3 weeks. So I have 2 books. The first is a book called Work It Girl. And it's this book right behind me. And I know the listeners can't see, but if you catch this on YouTube, you will see. But Work It Girl is a modern day career guide for women in sales. And it is focused on helping you think through all of the pillars that will help make you become a successful woman in sales. It has a little bit of my story. And in fact, the the red, blue, and orange is a fun take on the Armenian flag. And this, so those are my colors for the book, and a whole lot of, my culture that has kind of, given me some of the values and some of the things that I bring to my day. So that is all Work It Girl. And then what's behind me now for some of the folks on the call is a modern day sales planner. So what that is a 90-day workflow that's designed to help you from zero to quota. Think about your daily intentions, think about your quarterly goals, your monthly goals, and then it gives you a weekly workflow and a discipline to really think about what you want to be accomplishing each and every day when you sit down at your desk. So I call it a vision board in some cases, because I think if you write it down, you make it happen. But there's this idea that, sales managers will tell you to take a Post-it and put your quota on it so that you have it top of mind. And what I'm suggesting is we can do better than a Post-it. Yeah, and that's where a modern day sales planner comes into play.
That's great. I love that. Awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on both.
I can't wait for you to have them.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, which brings us to the last question. Where is it best for our listeners to connect with you online?
Yeah. So I'm all over LinkedIn. So I know the information will be there to connect. I'm Tania Doub, D-O-U-B. Yep. And I love connecting with new people, and I love giving advice and just sort of helping you think about, what sales looks like for you. So that's a great place to find me. I'm also on Instagram at Tania Doub, and on Instagram, you get sort of the behind the scenes of my life. If that is interesting to you, we have some fun there. And then all the things with my books and my products are on my website, taniadoub.com.
Okay. Awesome. And once again, I'll list those in the comment section. You had mentioned at the beginning part of the call, the podcast before we went live, that you have a gift for our listeners. Share that with us, and I'll also list that.
Yeah, perfect. So for anyone who is interested in Work It Girl, the book, or a modern day sales planner, if you visit my website, taniadoub.com, I'm offering a 20% discount on both of these books. And all you have to do is enter promo code WORKIT, WORKIT, promo code WORKIT.
All right. Awesome. I'll list that as well. And you'll send me that so I can get it right.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I think this is it. This has been awesome. I've
had so much fun.
Yeah, oh my God. And we'll do it again for sure. I can't wait to reconnect with you after the book launch, the actual launch. And maybe what we can do is think about some other folks that are embracing your Work It. I like using the term movement, and talk to them about how it's been effective for them.
Awesome. I love that. I think when good energy comes together, great things happen.
Oh,
we're
God,
proof
yeah.
of that.
I got to write that down. When good energy comes together, great things happen.
Great things happen.
Yeah. Awesome. Tania, thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon.
Sounds great. Justin, thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Bye.
Hang on 1 second.